Amanda the Adventurer 2 just dropped, and with it, we've learned a lot more about the lore. So in this video, I'll give you a breakdown of what's actually happening in the game, and then piece together the overall lore as we go. Now, the game begins where game 1 actually left off, with the masked figure being in the attic with Riley. And after Riley kind of explains what had happened up to that point, they get into the car and they drive over to the library that Kate worked at when she was still alive in order to find the clues and the tapes associated with Amanda the Adventurer. Now, just like in the original game, there are a few puzzles that we have to actually get through in order to progress, but the puzzles are not really important to the lore for the most part, so I'm just going to focus on the events of the tapes. In the first tape, which is called Let's Plan a Trip, we see Amanda sitting in a dark room by herself, and she talks about having like a magic train that can take her wherever she wants to go or where her imagination can take her. And during this time, she asks an interesting question to you, which is, if you could visit anyone, who would it be? And there are quite a few responses, but here are just two.
I wish I could still visit her. Wait, that's...
I think Sam and Kate get the most interesting responses, but you could probably do something with Willie and the Butcher as well if I'm not mistaken. But I think more importantly, this kind of confirms the fact that Amanda still has all her memories from before she was actually trapped in the virtual world, and I think that'll be important down the line. Now, as you are helping her actually make money to hop onto the train and travel to these different locations, you'll notice a possum is hiding under the couch. And this character will continue to pop up over the course of the game. And while at first I thought he was just here to make Amanda's life harder,
That's enough for our last stop! No, no, no! Go away! Get this weirdo out of here! No, no, no! He ate one of my coins!
like in the scene that I just showed you, it seems like his only goal is just to take one of Amanda's coins so that he can actually stop her from going on her little train adventure. And while this does confirm that he is a bit of a menace, after completing the game, I think there's a little bit more to this character, and I'll get to that as we go. Now, the next tape is called Good Night, and as the name suggests, we're basically helping Amanda get ready for bed. So putting her toys away and doing her general bedtime routine, in which we also run into Possum again, trying to eat her toothpaste this time. Now, eventually, you have to find Amanda a nightlight, because as she says, she tries to be a big girl, but she's still afraid of the dark because it makes her feel alone. Which again goes to show us just how young Amanda is, at least mentally. And this is where we actually learn as well that you can take things from the real world and insert them into Amanda's world, which opens up a ton of possibilities. For example, I don't know if you all remember in the first game, but a lot of the children were disappearing without a trace. Some people even thought that the kids just ran away, but I think a lot of these children were actually sucked into this virtual world and have become like either animals or one of these objects that we see with like eyes. And we'll actually see a lot of these trees, bushes, and just plants in general with eyes in later tapes. Now, the next tape is called Let's Practice Patience, and this is the first time that we actually see it Woolie's back. And one important fact that this kind of shows us is that even if a character in this virtual world dies, they will regenerate and come back like nothing happened. And for those of you that may have forgotten what Amanda did to Willie in the last game, she basically turned him into dinner. Another thing that really stands out here is that Amanda seems to hate Willie even more than she did in the first game.
And I'm Wooly!
Hi, No, I don't want you here. Don't you get that?
But Amanda, I'm your best friend.
My best friend? All you do is get up. Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Wooly!
And the reason that I think she's showing all this hate towards Willie is because he's playing a larger role in this series than we initially thought. I know I for sure thought that Willie was a good guy, but after actually playing through the game, I think there might be something a bit more sinister about Willie, but I'll talk about that more as we get to those clips in the actual game. Now in the next scene, Amanda and Willie are building a birdhouse, and if you make the wrong choices, you can actually get a cutscene where you really piss off Amanda.
I think that would get pretty messy. Okay, I get it. The theme is patience. It doesn't mean you have to keep testing right.
There's also a scene here where there is a cat and her babies hunting the birds that come to rest in the birdhouse. And if you let the cat stalk the birds, we get this scene here.
See how she stalks them slowly. She's showing a lot of patience. good mama cat.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
And while I don't think that this scene is super important to the lore, I think it does showcase that Amanda does have a bit of a dark side and seems to get some pleasure out of the suffering of this little bird here. While if we look at Willie, he actually looks sickened by the scene, or at least he's pretending to be. But judging by some of the events down the road, I think the reason that Willie looks so sick here is because Amanda is kind of like going off script. This is supposed to be a children's show, and Amanda is supposed to behave in a certain way, like be a good little girl, but she's doing these things that are a little bit darker, and I think that's why Willie is actually mad. He's trying to play along, and Amanda is kind of fed up with it. Now, another thing that pops up during this tape is that we actually get access to a secret tape, and it gives a ton of information about what's actually happening in this world.
Holy hell, how long have you been cataloging these?
Since I caught a sigil on the swing set in the background of the Let's Play Pirates episode. If I'd have blinked, I'd have missed it. But here's the thing, there wasn't a single reference until the acquisition. This is the complete log of all the references I can make out, and most of them are subtle, but they're there, and lots of them.
And usually paired with a message encouraging kids to ignore their parents or do something harmful. Again, it's subtle. It's not something that's overtly dangerous, not in the context, and it's always under the guise of a new adventure.
And you know this kid was also watching the show at the time of his disappearance.
Totally engrossed, his parents said, and then just gone.
No police evidence? Not even footprints trailing off?
No, nothing. Like he just vanished. That was over 8 months ago.
And now this other kid, Lauren, same story.
So what's next?
That's what we need to figure out. I mean, obviously we can't say anything. It's a kid's show, for Christ's sake. We'd sound insane.
But it's not. These are not good lessons. Every episode has some very harmful instructions, and there's a thread of content that runs across all of it. References to Belial, to Mara, to Iblis. Every world religion has a figure that tempts and manipulates and deceives. According to Kate's log, in the last 20 weeks of this kids show, there have been over 40 mentions of these entities. It's alarming.
Now, I think the first part of this tape is really important because it shows that these people are aware that children have gone missing when watching the show Amanda the Adventurer. And it also reveals that the show seems to have evil undertones with telling children to disobey their parents, but also making references to demons and possibly even getting the kids to repeat their names, which is something that we actually saw them doing with Amanda in the first game.
Rebecca, that was great. Let's move on to the next one.
Bio. 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 Pie man. Pie man. Pie man. Bala. Balam. Pie.
What is this? What is she reading? Just a few simple words. This script is specifically tuned to train the technology's dynamic voice reaction. The what? I want this to stop. Sam, why don't you take a walk for a few minutes? We've only got a few more of these.
No, I don't want to do that.
Rebecca, what's wrong? Who are you talking to?
The man in the headphones.
This moment, she's upset. This is going too far. Let's just take 5.
And I think this information supports my theory that the children are not just vanishing, but are literally being transported to the virtual world. And while I know that these people want to help the children and inform the public, they also know that if they go and start talking about this without any real proof, they'll just sound like absolute maniacs. Now, in the secret tape, we also learn the company Hamlin's has been around since the Middle Ages and seems to be like some demon worshipping cult. And their goal is basically to trap people by tricking them into signing bad contracts that they can't get out of. And I know some of you tough guys out there may be thinking that if you didn't like a contract, you just wouldn't follow the rules. But as we'll learn later in the video, it seems like Sam and Rebecca have realized that they're involved with some really powerful people and they just can't simply reject the contract. They have to follow it or they will be harmed. And before we move on, I also want to highlight one more point from this secret tape.
We don't even have any conclusive evidence that would suggest that she's still alive.
But she's in there, Peter. I know she is.
Whatever information Kate is getting is fragmented at best, and that's if it is actually Rebecca.
It has to be.
So no, Caroline, we don't know. We have to hit the pause button on this. We can't do anything that would give away what we're doing.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Are you in charge here? So what's the plan then, Peter? We just keep meeting and talking? What's our goal exactly?
Look, I want to try too, Caroline, but we have to proceed with caution.
We don't even know what state she's in, or if we could even get to her. It's been almost 15 years. She might not even want out at this point.
You don't know that.
You don't either.
Bottom line is, it's not safe. I mean, are we going to talk about David, or are we just going to pretend he's...
I'm not waiting around. If they're coming for me, they're coming for me. She's made contact with Kate.
But we don't even know that it's her.
It is, but she's too volatile. That's the tricky part. We don't know where she's coming from.
Kate, we've been working on this for 14 years. Please.
This is a terrible idea. We should be lying low, not diving in.
These people right here seem to understand that Amanda is actually Rebecca, and we also learn that Rebecca has been trapped in a virtual world for at least 15 years. And the old man here named Peter makes a great point when he says that they don't know if Rebecca even wants to get out at this point. And we've seen already that the entity or the demonic version of Amanda will take out anyone who gets too close to the tapes. And we'll also see more examples of this as we go through this game. And this also goes perfectly with what Kate's saying in the video, which is that Rebecca seems to be unstable and unpredictable. Basically saying that like she's been in this virtual world so long that she may not actually know what she's doing, and she's harming people who are trying to help her. Now the next tape is called Let's Hunt for Treasure, and this is where we actually see Amanda and Willie standing on a trail surrounded by different plants with eyes. And again, I think that a lot of these things are actually children that have been sucked into this world. Now, you have the choice to go north, east, or west on the map, and if you go west, you find a shallow grave here, and then you get this cutscene.
This isn't treasure.
You know what else is fun, Amanda? Burying things.
Yeah, Willie. Sometimes you just have to bury things.
Now it's hard to say for sure, but judging by the way Amanda reacts here, I think it implies that the clothes actually belong to her, or possibly Willie or one of the other kids that actually got transported here. Now you may also notice that there's no skeleton in the grave, and I think that makes sense because partly it's a virtual world, but also we have to remember what Amanda is actually like in the outside world. While we don't fully understand it, we know to some degree that Amanda's real body is either hooked up to like some technology, or her real body is the literal demonic entity. So it would make sense that there wouldn't actually be like a skeleton in the grave here. Another thing that really caught my attention here as well is how calm Willie is during all this. While Amanda is kind of panicking and looking really scared, Willie just starts to bury the clothes again and says something should stay buried. And this is another hint that kind of tells me that Willie is not as good of a character as we think. And I feel like he's here to actually keep Amanda in check, and he has a darker side to him, which we'll see later. Now, while editing this video, I noticed that there was a small glitch in the cutscene, and when I paused at that moment, this is the image that actually pops up. And it's hard to say what this thing is, but it looks like either a flayed man or maybe some type of demon, considering that it's completely red. As I continue to edit this video, I may try to pause in certain areas again and see if there's any hidden images there as well. Now after that, if you go north, we actually see a X over this mound here, and we also see the possum pops up again. And as usual, it's basically trying to stop Amanda from completing a task. And as I said, I do have a theory for who this possum actually is, but I'm going to save it until later in the video because it'll make more sense once we actually know who the masked figure is. Now back in the game, we see that Amanda finds a stuffed animal in this hole, which makes her super upset. She basically says that we didn't help her at all, and we better find her something that'll make her happy or we'll regret it. And then we get this scene here.
Do you have a treasure out there that will make me happy? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Time's running out.
Riley? Riley? Riley, are you okay? Riley, get out of there!
Now, this is technically one of the endings that you can get, and I think it does give us more information about Amanda. We basically see that Amanda and the entity seem to be the same person, or if they are not, they at least are connected in some way. I say this because Amanda said, do we have something that would make her happy? And then the entity pops up with his hands out. Now, funny enough, if you give the demonic Amanda the woolly doll that was locked behind the glass in front of the library, this is how it reacts then. And remember this interaction because I'm going to come back to it later in the video because I learned something very important at the end of the game. Now, the next tape is called Let the Day Begin, and it starts with this gentleman walking away from the camera. And while we don't know his name or anything like that, we can assume that he's connected with Hamlin and is probably like some big wig in the corporation. Then we swap over to Amanda waking up and getting ready to start her day with your help, of course. The first thing that stands out in this tape is that we are able to actually take things from the real world and give them to Amanda, which confirms that it's not just a one-off thing. And it also makes me even more confident in my theory that the missing kids are definitely now in this virtual world. The second thing that stood out in the tapes is that the possum comes back again, and as he's looking at the bacon here, we see that his eyes look just like the eyes of the stove and the fridge. And I think this was the first time that I really started to believe that this possum was another one of the kids that was trapped in the virtual world instead of just some menace that was like programmed into the game. Now, the next tape is called When You're Feeling Bad, and as the name suggests, we see that Amanda is very depressed, and Willie is trying to tell a story to cheer her up. But if you follow the pictures on the wall and connect them with the storybooks on the table outside, you actually get a narrator to tell the story that Amanda has drawn.
The princess went to visit a wise wizard. She asked the wizard to help her see her knight again.
No, the wizard didn't talk to the princess. The wizard talked to the knight to give them a quest.
And this seems to make her happy, although it does make Wooly very upset that we're not following his story. And it's a good deal that the story actually makes her happy, because if Amanda doesn't like the story being told, the entity will sneak up behind you and take you out. But in this particular route, the encounter goes like this.
Okay, moving on.
Wait! They're trying! Please!
I think this is another sign that Amanda and the entity are definitely connected, and Amanda has control over what the creature does. Another thing that I was able to notice when I was editing this video is that right here, when Willie is starting to get upset, we see that his eyes actually go jet black as well. And this is something that happens later on in the game, but I was surprised to see it happening this early. And I think this kind of shows again that Willie isn't the nice character that he pretends to be, but actually something more demonic, something more evil. And after going through the whole storyboard, we finally get this hammer, which actually allows us to free the Willy doll, which will allow us to get the bad ending and the true ending for this game. Because after you give the entity the Willy doll, it actually runs out of the room and breaks down the door to Kate's office, which allows you to get in there and progress through the game. And with that, we actually get access to another tape called We Can Fix It. And this one was very interesting because it is very glitched out. And one of the first images that really caught my attention is this one that has the multiple versions of Wooly surrounding Amanda, and we see that she's kind of like balled up and crying. This is another reason that I think that Wooly is actually a tormentor, or like a wolf in sheep clothing, I guess you would say. He's pretending to be a good guy, but in actuality, he is part of the reason that Amanda is suffering in this virtual world, which would prove why she kind of dislikes this character. The other images, we see that these two keep merging together, which I don't know if that's supposed to be a symbol for like how they're connected in this virtual world, but it very well could be. And another thing worth mentioning is this scene right here with the butcher.
Close your eyes. Count down from 10. You may feel this pinch.
Now, personally, I think that the butcher is supposed to represent the doctor or surgeon that was responsible for sending Rebecca's mind and soul to the virtual world. And him saying that she might feel a pinch is like the needle or whatever device that he used to put her under and start the process. We also have this creepy scene here with Wooly and Amanda. And I thought that this was interesting because it almost makes Willie seem like he is evil here, even though I feel like he tries to convince the players that he isn't. But this scene, it looked a lot like some type of demonic ritual that had Willie as the center of it. And as you guys remember, the demon ball is mentioned a lot of times in Amanda the Adventurer, the first game, and even here in the second game in the secret tape. And in the lore for that particular demon, like sheeps are used a lot either for sacrifice or to appease that god in some way. So I don't think that it's a coincidence that Willie has actually taken the form of a sheep in this virtual world. While it's hard to say if Willie is actually a representation of the demon or like a worshiper of the demon, I think what I can say is that Willie is not a good character and there's a dark undertone to him. Now in the next part, we see this frog on the table and we're able to actually open him up and use the pieces inside of him to help Amanda fix items in her world. We end up helping her fix Blackbot, which is a character from the first game. We also help her fix some roller skates and even a butterfly. But the one thing that we are not able to fix in Amanda is her heart, which is actually pretty sad.
Thanks for trying.
Now, after that tape, we hear the masked figure again, and she tells us that she's making her way into the building. And while waiting for her, we actually get this tape with a band-aid on it called Do You Feel Safe? And it starts with Amanda asking you if you feel safe, and basically saying that a person is never truly safe, even if they think they are. And more importantly, she says that she doesn't really trust anyone anymore. And I think that Amanda is saying this because, you know, Kate kind of let her down. Sam was so trusting that he ended up getting them into a bad contract. And then a character like Wooly, who is pretending to be like a good and safe character, is actually evil underneath, which I think truly is why Amanda has nobody that she really trusts anymore. And when we actually get to this back alley here, there are two scenes worth mentioning. The first one goes like this.
Be safe. You should never talk to strangers.
And I trusted you.
Riley, I'm almost at the front door. I think that thing is following me.
Amanda, I don't know what you're trying to do back here, but I really
Shut up, Wooly.
Okay, I'm in. We need to get moving.
Sometimes I worry about trusting new friends, though. Maybe I'm not quite ready yet.
We see here that Amanda seems to be having like second thoughts about trusting Riley, and while she keeps her demon self from attacking us earlier, that's not going to be the case moving forward. The second thing to note is the fight with the possum that happens here, specifically if you don't actually help Amanda and Wooly this time.
You know, you were a stranger when I met you.
To be safe, you should never talk to strangers.
And I trusted you. I think I still do.
Riley, I'm almost at the front door. I think that thing is following me.
Oh, not him again! What are you even doing here?
Nobody wants you here.
I just got in. We need to get moving.
Can you even hear us? What is with this guy?
Why have you been letting this stranger mess with us this whole time? Can we please get rid of him?
What the hell happened in here? I'm gonna come check on you.
Come on! Come on! Where is he going?
Why wouldn't you help us? I trusted you.
And what did I just say about strangers?
Now, while this may just seem like another fight between Amanda and the possum, we learn something interesting here. When the possum hears the masked woman's voice over the walkie-talkie, he starts to freak out and tries to get out of the TV as if she's somebody that's important to him. At one point, he even tries to speak, starting to say Joe over and over again until he finally gets the word Joanne out. And this will make more sense when we actually look at the true ending of the game. Now, after that, we head back to Kate's office, and that's where we find the masked lady. And then we can get two different endings. The bad ending looks like this.
Good. You're okay. Let's do what we came to do and get out of here. Run.
In this ending, we don't get to learn who the masked woman is, but we do get to see that once you break these VHS tapes, there seems to be like a spirit, or at least a part of someone's spirit, flying out of it. Of course, then an entity comes down and slams this woman on the table so that she cannot destroy any more tapes. And then we see the masked lady actually give the tapes to Riley so that she can escape with them. Now, in order to get the true ending, you need to find a cassette tape that goes into the tape player in Kate's desk, and that ending looks like this.
Oh, Riley, please. Oh God, I'm praying you hear this. Someone can get this to you. You can stay safe so I can protect you. Okay, please just don't watch the tapes. Destroy them. God, what did you think? How could I possibly involve you in this? I'm so sorry. I thought I couldn't. Everyone who's tried to figure it out, they're all dead. Joanne is dead. She please. I can't bear the thought of it. The letter I wrote, I was wrong. Riley, there is no higher calling. There is only suffering and pain. If you've never seen me again, just please listen. I was so stupid and arrogant to think we could beat them. She wasn't ever ours to lose. She was already gone. I can't let you get lost too. Please let us go.
Riley, I don't know what to. I am so sorry. Kate died because of me. My brother was one of the kids who disappeared. All I wanted was to find him. And someone came to me. They told me he was trapped and that the only way to free him was to smash the tapes. And I believed them. I brought you here to destroy these. I thought I was doing the right thing. The night she died, I went to your aunt's house. She'd been working so hard to find the truth, but all I wanted was to get Jordan back. I screamed at Kate to give me the tapes, and then that creature. It was horrible. I pushed Kate out of there, begged her to run. I didn't want her to get hurt because of me, but then she... I think it was protecting the tapes. We didn't know. Kate didn't know. And now I've led those psychos right to her house. They're the ones who burned it down. It was to destroy those tapes. I know it. I saw the letter she wrote to you. I know she trusted you to pick up where she left off. And I took advantage of that trust to bring you here, to find the tapes. I don't know if you can ever forgive me. But I do know that Hamlin needs to be brought down. I won't be their pawn anymore. I will do whatever I can to... Riley, take these and get out of here. Go! I'll be right behind you. I promise.
Kate is basically trying to keep Riley from watching any more of the tapes because anyone who watches them have died. And based on what we hear in the recording, it sounds like Kate actually falls into the same category, getting into some type of car crash. Now, another interesting thing about this ending is that we get to learn who the masked woman is and why she was in the first game and in this game to begin with. We learn that her little brother, who is named Jordan, was also one of the kids that was sucked into the game world, and she wants to get him back. And I think that her little brother is the possum in the virtual world, because as I showed you earlier, he reacted very strongly to hearing her voice, and more importantly, he said the name Joanne, which as you can see here is the masked woman's name. Something else that really stands out in this ending is that the entity that pops up here doesn't belong to Amanda, but it's actually the woolly entity. And judging by the way it rips Joanne apart at the end, I would argue that this entity is more vicious than Amanda's. And I say this because in the bad ending, I feel like the Amanda entity did not brutalize Joanne the way that the woolly entity definitely did. And while I understand that we couldn't see anything that was happening in either one of them, we could definitely hear it, and it sounds like the woolly entity was literally ripping her apart. But I think this also puts a few more things into perspective. Earlier in the video, when we actually gave the Amanda entity the woolly doll, it ripped it apart and roared. And if you listen closely, you can hear another roar off in the distance. Now, personally, I think that this was the woolly entity and Amanda's entity is actually afraid of it. I think that this also explains why Amanda doesn't really seem to like Willie that much. She knows what Willie really is and she doesn't trust him, and I think even more so, she doesn't want to play along anymore in this little show and like cooperate with Hamlin's, while Willie is fully on board with whatever this farce is. Now with that being said, there are 3 more secret tapes that I want to go over, the first one being the Turquoise tape.
And you'll look straight into the camera here and smile.
If I do this, you'll let me see her?
We'll have to get clearance for that. Well, let's just say doing this will improve your chances.
You know you just can't keep me in here. I don't know what you're trying to achieve, but people are going to be looking.
Okay, I'm all set. We can go ahead with your statement now.
Rebecca, honey, I am so proud of you. And I know that our friends are taking care of you while I'm away. You can... I'm not going to tell her she can trust you. You've got me locked up in here and you want me to act like everything is okay? This is kidnapping. It's coercion.
Just say what's on the paper, Mr. Cole.
This is kidnapping. It's coercion.
Mr. Cole, if you wish, one of my associates will gladly provide you with a copy of your signed contract. You agreed to this.
I did not agree to lie to my daughter.
Operation South Corridor. Go ahead.
This is going to take some time. Mr. Colton isn't exactly cooperative today, but I got something. I'll bring over the tape for editing.
And you've recorded all proceedings?
Still running. Can you send someone down for the lockup protocol?
Copy that. What's your authorization number?
543 Alpha Tango Alpha 67.
Security escort will arrive in 90 seconds. You have clearance to stop recording.
All right, Mr. Colton. If this is how you're going to behave, we'll do what we can with what you gave us.
And while this tape was fairly short, it does give us a few clues as to what happened after this cult took Rebecca. It seems like Sam didn't actually read through this contract, or they tricked him in some way and he ended up agreeing to some terms that he didn't actually want to go along with. And as you can see in the video, he literally says that they have him locked away and that he's been kidnapped. And it seems like these people were trying to get him to pretend to be happy and compliant so that he could actually be used to help Amanda like trust the cult, which obviously he wasn't down for. And while we don't actually see what happens to Sam, I would assume that if he stopped actually helping these people, they probably got rid of him, which may be part of the reason that Amanda is kind of losing her sanity. I feel like if Sam was still alive and making these videos, kind of telling her to stay strong and to trust these people, she would be a very different character than she is now. On some level, Amanda understands that her father is now gone, and that is part of the reason why she feels so alone. Next, we'll take a look at the red tape.
Alice sat with her eyes closed, imagining she was still in Wonderland. But she knew that if she opened her eyes, everything would go back to normal. The instrument she heard would become grass, blowing in the wind. Rings of smoke from the caterpillar would become the ripples on the pond. The noise of teacups would turn into the sound of bells on sheep, and the queen's loud voice would become a boy calling for the sheep. All the strange sounds she heard would just be animals in the meadow. Wow! What a fun story! Did you all like that story?
Let's thank Mr. Sam Colton for joining us this morning for a very special story time. Hey, you all may know a friend of Mr. Colton's. You can watch her on her very own hometown hit show on Ken Stale's public access channel. Do you know what show that is? That's right, my friends. Now, parents, on your way out today, please consider donating to the library's renovation fund so we can have even more great programming like we did today. Right, a major goal of the renovation is to create a special place for your little ones to read and dream. In the very own Kids Corner, with a state-of-the-art activity center and expanded selection for early readers. Now, remember, we can't do it without your support.
That new Kids Corner will open up a whole new world where your kids will be able to feed their imagination and fuel their own adventures. I can't wait to see such a special place come to life.
Yeah. Thank you again, Mr. Colton, and I look forward to seeing every one of you back here Thursday for a special production of The Very Silly Groundhog by our friends at Blue Fairy Puppet Theater. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for filming again for the archive.
Daddy, did you turn off the camera?
No, I'm about to.
And I'll catch you later.
Make it film
Didn't expect to see you at story time.
Okay.
Well, I'm a sucker for that Cheshire Cat.
Perfect. Yeah, give me what you got.
You know, I have to say, I just love seeing that connection you've made with the kids here. It's
I love it.
Something else.
You're my favorite jumper.
Do you have a minute?
Look at that.
Now in this tape, we learn that Kate and Sam knew each other, and at some point in time, Kate was even promoting the Amanda the Adventurer show back when it was made with real people and not just an animation. This also explained why Amanda actually was familiar with Kate in the first place. The last thing that we see in this one is that There seems to be some bigwig from the Hamlin Corporation here who approaches Sam, and the thing that stood out for me was that the guy says that he loves to see how Sam connects so well with the children. I think Hamlin not only used Rebecca to lure children in when they actually turned her into Amanda, but I think they also wanted to use the connection that Sam had with the children in the community to lure more children in initially. Because as we saw in the video, all those children knew exactly who Sam was and also Amanda the Adventurer. So I feel like they were just a great catalyst to get this demonic nonsense going. And with that being said, now we have the last tape that I was able to find, and that is this lime green one.
Is stable, but her brain activity is severely out of balance.
I'm noticing more of that on the readings lately. Keep a monitor on the nerve functions around the amygdala. Those always go up right before an incident. Excuse me, this corridor isn't scheduled. Hey, excuse me, hey!
And it basically shows this person lying in a hospital bed. Now, it's hard to say what's going on here. The person in the bed is obviously an adult, and if I had to guess, I would say that this is present day Amanda. And the reason that she's hooked up to all these machines is because that's actually what the butcher did to her to send her to the virtual world. This also may explain what Amanda said in the first game.
Sometimes I feel myself rotting, but it feels far away.
Considering that we see that she's laid here in some type of coma, I can understand how that would feel like she's slowly wasting away or slowly decaying. So based on what we learned in this game, I think it's safe to say that Rebecca was a victim of this devil worshipping cult that basically tricked her and her father into signing a contract that lost both of them their freedom and possibly even Sam's life. Kate found out that Hamlin's was an evil corporation that had ties to the children going missing, and she was able to actually make contact with Rebecca and figure out that she and Amanda were the same person. And while she really wanted to actually save the young lady, she found out that the cult was way too powerful and ended up losing her own life trying to fight against them. And while it does seem like Riley has been able to carry on her aunt's mission, we've also been left with even more questions, especially after the arrival of the new Wooly entity, which may prove that Wooly is a lot more evil than he lets on. But with all that being said, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, and let me know if there's any more secret tapes that I may have missed. Check out part 1 here if you want to, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.